Greetings. This video is about design considerations on the Kettlewell Frictionless Mouthpiece slider. It's a discussion of shapes and function and what choices are made to make sure that the player gets the best experience possible. If you have not been introduced to a Kettlewell Frictionless Mouthpiece slider before, it fits onto a harp without changing the harp. And one rests the lips upon the slider, and the slider goes back and forth, not the lips, on the harp. There's no saliva lubricating anymore the lip to the harp, so the harp stays much cleaner. But most important, there's no more puckering, no puckering. The lips sit relaxed and comfortable in their embouchure. Okay. Now, each of these are handmade, and each one I think through what would be best, and I want to talk about some of the considerations. Now, if you can picture, if I make a big slider, okay. What's that? Or that, okay? Or that. There are some physical dimensions which one must manage. One is the shape here. One could cut the outside of the slider to match the trapezoidal shape of the mouthpiece, but I've found that the rounded mouthpiece is best and makes tongue tapping a little easier, a little bit more relaxed, a little more comfortable. And so they're rounded. But if you can imagine for a moment that one might have a choice, one could make it rather thick, like this one, or someone might choose to make one that's a little thinner. What are the considerations thereof? Well, this little punk, available from Diebel Instruments at mastersofharmonica.com, which has been customized with my ergo button and the slider, and has the friction cover coating. This is a rather small harp if you compare it to a Seidel Symphony. It's much smaller. And so by making the slider taller, thicker, this way, you can effectively increase the overall size of the physical platform of the harp in the hand, pulling it away from the face a hair and making it feel like a larger harp. So that on a small platform harp, like a Seidel Saxony orchestra tuned, which this one is, which by the way is a marvelous instrument, totally airtight from factory thanks to the high quality standards of Seidel. The thicker slider's a good fit there. Now, this instrument is a C solo tuned Seidel Symphony, which is, I think, one of the better harps on the market. And you'll see that that one's thinner. Why is it thinner? Because it's a larger platform, and you don't need to make it larger. So it gets down to ergonomics, the feel of the harmonica with the slider to the player. regardless of the thickness of the slider, it slides the same, left and right, okay? But the distance from the lip does make a difference in how the harp feels in play. So there's more to it. Let's deal with another question. Of the three surfaces, this one, and this one, which ones count as relates to air tightness? Only one, which is the mating of the top to the underside here. That is where the air tightness must occur between slider and the mouthpiece. And so it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of wiggle left and right, as long as the underside of the slider here is perfectly mated to the top. These are made to within about 1.5 ten-thousandths of an inch. They really do fit well. And they allow you to move quickly and easily to new movable positions. Now, these are all one-hole sliders, but I've tested 5-hole, 4-hole, 3-hole in every configuration possible. I like the one because I get that relaxed embouchure, but the 5 allows you to do octaves. I think this is the best example of the invention. So anyhow, then another consideration would be, what should they be made out of? I'll show you what these are made out of. These are made out of a chunk of lucite. That's what the slider starts off as. And where did this come from? This came from an award, one of those lucite awards that was aged. And I get them and I cut them up with a bandsaw until their shape's smaller than this, more like that shape. And from that shape, they're actually handcrafted. And so these are things which are considerations. How wide should a slider be? Well, as long as the slider has contact with the lip until the round lip departs from the slider right around here on this side and over here, as long as you've got a full coverage, then that's all you need. So you don't want it any longer than it has to be from function. And thus we start to see the result of design on function, which is one of my favorite things as an inventor and designer, is the impact of a given design on function. I think it's so fun to think about and to consider, both with the ergo button, and its comfort to the hand at all angles, and the fact it comes out a little further to keep it away from the face while you're using the slider. These relationships between design and function, I think are really fascinating and so enjoyable a part of it. So anyway, if you want to come on down here, we'll take a peek. This is just 3 harps owned by Dybel. I did the customizations, but they're owned by David Dybel, and they are for sale by him at mastersofharmonica.com. But I'm the craftsman, the person that does that work. Well, anyhow, those are some of the design parameters. I would also say that the corners are smoothed. This edge is smoothed. That edge is smoothed, and this and that edge, so there's nothing hard. If these edges are hard, you'll hear click, click, click as it moves on the mouthpiece. So I get rid of any lines that are sharp down here. That gets smoothed, this smooth, this smooth. This one's smoothed here for the hand, and that one for the tongue, so that it's comfy. So that's all hand stoned out, so that they're comfy. Again, some of the design parameters on the Kettlewell Frictionless Mouthpiece slider.